and there's kind of 4 worlds you stop through in on your way, and the route he's going to be using is going to be doing some RNG manipulation in the first world, and how the RNG manipulation works depends on what platform you're playing the game on, too. Okay, so it looks like he's getting started here. So he picked a Red Bull monster for his hero character, and then he recruited 2 albatrosses and then a human. Each type of character you can play as has a different kind of progression and leveling route. Like humans level up by using consumable items that you can buy from shops. Mutants randomly gain stuff when you win battles, and then monsters, which is what kind of is best suited for speedrunning, level up when you eat meat dropped by other monsters. And there's a pretty complex system based around what kind of monster you have, and then what kind of monster you're eating the meat drop of. But if you route it kind of optimally, that's definitely the fastest way to get powerful quickly in this game. So a lot of Baku Zero's routing is kind of built around that. So because he's doing his RNG manipulation in the first world, he's actually going to be able to manipulate meat drops after a few particular battles. I don't. Vic, are you on the call yet? I know you understand the manipulation a lot better than I do.
There's nothing I like more than hearing about RNG manipulation, so I'm excited.
The game is kind of weird in the sense that it works off of a lot of pseudo RNG, and so it's not like pure random in the sense of, there's a % chance of this and there's a % chance of that per se, so much as it calls off a list of like, well, first 3 battles will not have a meat drop, fourth battle will have a meat drop, 5th and 6th and 7th battle, sort of like that. And coming off of a hard, power off, the RNG is always going to start in the same place, and kind of just working through the route, Baku's going to be able to know which battles he's going to get every single time, and how many battles, if he wants a meat drop on the 7th battle, what kinds of things does he need to do.
Yeah, and I know that running away from encounters is manipulatable too.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as being able to do that quickly.
That's also being called off of PRNG pretty much, where it's, you'll be successful 3 times, and then you'll get a can't run once, and then you'll be successful, X amount of time, so on and so forth. So
kind of the bottom line is just that, if you do the same actions every time you play the game, starting from a hard power run, you'll get the same results, but how that all plays out is completely different depending on what platform you're using to play the game, whether it's Super Game Boy, Super Game Boy 2, Game Boy Player, or various types of emulators. So for that battle he did in the cave there, because the story for this first world is that there's these 3 kings that have have a sword, armor, and shield. That you need to get all of those in order to, and then put them onto a statue of a hero in order to gain in this version, a crystal that unlocks the door to the tower that leads to paradise. And he had to go fight some monsters in a cave as part of getting, I think it's the armor, and then he forced a meat drop off of that encounter through the RNG manipulation. An optimal run of this game would be manipulating the entire game from start to finish, but just because it can be pretty volatile in some places, the route that Baku Zero is doing for this marathon run is only doing that for about the first 10-ish minutes of the run, up until he enters the tower, and then he's going to be kind of shifting to pretty different kinds of strats that we'll get into when he gets there.
Manipulation is very, very spot on. So you take a misstep somewhere, you make one missed command, and it's over. So I would imagine, it would be pretty stressful to try to maintain that through an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I know his record for kind of, I guess, glitchless with Saw and on Super Game Boy 1 is 51 minutes or so. And his practice run he did with this marathon route was about 54 minutes, so I was kind of surprised at how close it was for using a pretty different route for most of the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he got lucky as well. Hard to say.
Yeah, it's always hard to say with the RPGs.
This portion is especially volatile because these NPC guards can move around, and if you happen to walk into the same tile they walk on, or you actually just run into them, then you will get into an unrunnable encounter with them. But since his manip's probably going fine right now, then it's not a big deal.
Yeah, when you see him going into the menu periodically and then coming back out, he's saving the game there too. All of the that's actually, I mean, it's kind of standard for a lot of handheld RPGs. Period, but that you can do some kind of saving the game anywhere, just because of it being a game that you could play on the go. But for a lot of Game Boy RPGs, especially, they don't even have like a quick save system. You can just do flat out save the game anywhere, and then for speedrunning, you can use that kind of as a save scumming, as we call it, in a lot of cases, where you save before you get into a dangerous situation, and then if you don't like the outcome, you reset and try again. So he's not really doing a whole lot of that now. He's still on Manip, but once he stops doing the Manip route, he'll be doing that really, really often, since he won't know what encounters he's going to be getting into anymore.
Yeah, that's a big part of the routing as well. There are always going to be a handful of encounters that are very dangerous, usually things that come in 3-packs and whatnot. And in many routes, you will have also routed out in the PRNG of, maybe you'll take a can't run on an encounter on purpose just to make sure that you'll get a successful run on a bigger encounter.
Okay, so he went to the story for this world is just kind of out there, because he did a fetch quest to get the hero's armor, and then to get the hero's sword, he just flat out killed the king that had it, and now he's going for the shield, and he finds out that the king that had the shield has been assassinated, and then he basically fights the assassins to get the shield back.
I wonder what the line is in Japanese, because in English it's one of my favorite.
Oh, it's like, "You're scum, I hate you," or something like that.
Yeah.
You make me sick.
Sick, yeah. That's dang near it for the first world right there.
Yep. So now he puts the 3 treasures onto this statue to get a crystal, as it's called in this version. It's a orb, or a sphere, I think, in the English version. And then he fights the first of the 4 fiends. This is somewhat of a Final Fantasy game, so you gotta have 4 fiends. I forget which mythology they're based on in this game. I know these types of fiends have come up in like the Castlevania series and anime too, but yeah, this is Genbu, the turtle, is the first fiend, and he's basically just spamming his monster attacks to kill him, just based on the monster evolutions he routed out.
Looks like either he doesn't care about death, or maybe
he actually wants some of his characters to be dead in this route, just because when he gets to the next town, he's going to be swapping out some of his characters for new ones, and as I understand it, in order to do that, the character has to be dead. Because each adventurer's guild that you can do can visit as you make progress in the game has more powerful characters that you can recruit. Okay, so he's done doing RNG manipulation, so you're going to be seeing him just saving the game constantly from here on out. And and so that's basically just so that if he gets into a fight and then it takes him more than like 1 or 2 attempts to run away, he'll just reset and reload.
Some of them are dangerous too. Those jelly ones do some pretty harsh HP draining attacks usually.
Mm-hmm.
Even across their different versions. You're going to see a lot of the same sprites all the time.
Yeah, and on the flip side, those are actually pretty good to have in your party for some categories for this game too. Like the no saw category abuses that really hard for the end game. It does kind of a max power type of jelly that can refill all of its HP every turn with an HP drain attack. So, like we said a bit ago, this game is divided up into kind of 4 main worlds and then an end game. So you're climbing this tower that leads to paradise, and then you kind of reach these locked doors every like 5 floors or so, and then you need to visit a world and then find a new crystal in order to unlock the door to keep climbing up. So World 2 is kind of a water world where he needs to first get an air seed that lets him breathe underwater, and then go to an underwater palace or something to find the next fiend and crystal. So right there, he just visited the Adventurers Guild, and then swapped out in my notes. He swapped out his human for a barracuda, and then one of his monsters for a human. And then he did a bit of shopping too. He bought what's called a blue dragon sword in this version, or a battle sword in English, which is actually a story trigger item with some potions for healing. Yeah, so the next few minutes is basically he's going through these caves as part of a kind of a fetch quest to get the air seed, which lets him breathe underwater. And ride these kind of funky, like, floating islands or turtles or whatever they are exactly.
I have no idea. Yeah, but this is just a decently long sequence to get where you need to go. Every world has a bit of a theme. This is the water world. No Kevin Costner this time, though.
I appreciated that joke myself.
Yeah, specifically, he can take that one. So you're kind of meant to get lost and try all these different entrances and paths and stuff, but obviously he's going to know exactly which ones.
Yeah, and then especially Saga 1 and 2, I think, are a little notorious for just being kind of punishing for getting lost, just because the way that you level up is in the first 2 Saga games. I mean, you have to kind of know what you're doing with the game mechanics in order to actually get stronger, like with the beat evolution system and like with humans getting enough money to buy stat boosting items for them, and also weapons and special attacks by monsters all have limited numbers of uses before you need to go stay at an inn in order to recharge those. So if you're just like playing this game blind and exploring, you'll often kind of hit roadblocks where you're kind of unable to do anything else unless you go stay at an inn and restock supplies.
Making good use of the mechanics of Saga games is never an easy feat. There's just a lot that if you don't understand, you'll never progress. That's probably happened to most people who play these games somewhere along.
Yeah, like I kind of figure that's probably why they actually put in an experience leveling system into Saga 3, so that even if you don't ever figure out how the beast and robot transformation system works, if you fight enough battles, you'll level up enough that it just doesn't matter. I guess while he's just walking around, I just have a few more tidbits about this game. It came out in Japan in December of 1989, and in North America in both 1990 and 1990, because for reasons I don't remember, Sunsoft actually reprinted the Final Fantasy Legend games in the late 90s. And this was actually the first Squaresoft RPG to sell over 1 million copies worldwide.
Possibly like a Game Boy Color port?
There was a port of this game for the Wonder Swan Color, which was a Japanese exclusive handheld
I know
console.
about the Wonder Swan, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Saga 2 and 3 had Nintendo DS remakes that were only released in Japan, unfortunately.
Yeah, so you just saw there he couldn't successfully run and decided to reset instead because he would have gotten his butt kicked right there.
Yeah, so he's underwater now, but he's in an underwater castle and looking for Ryu, who's the next fiend, and then the crystal that he needs in order to unlock the next floor of the tower.
This place has its own set of guards as well that are not you're not able to run away from no matter what.
Yeah, these squids can, because there's a lot of one tile wide corridors in this place that these squid things can block if you get unlucky. I don't remember seeing him do it in his practice run, but I'd expect that if he gets trolled pretty badly by them, he can reset the game in order to respawn the guards.
Yeah. Yeah, just taking glimpses of when he does get into an encounter. I mean, all of his guys are still sitting pretty at like 60 hit points or so, which at this point in the game is not a lot. I don't think he'll get one shot by anything, but probably two shot.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to.
Yeah, and then keep in mind he does actually want some of his characters to be killed at various points in his route too, so that he can replace them at guilds. So that chest he just opened had grenades in it, because I mean this is a kind of a traditional fantasy RPG, but it has like grenades and bazookas and flamethrowers and stuff that you can use too.
And grenades are super powerful for what they are. They'll hit entire groups and they do good damage.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to be spamming for the next couple required battles. Like a full RNG manip run would actually already have Saw by this point, which we kind of touched on a bit earlier. It's a super overpowered attack that I think the way it was intended to work is that if the Saw user's offense stat is better than the target's defense, it'll instantly kill them, but like a 1 didn't get carried somewhere, and it actually works in reverse, where if the user's offense is lower than the target's defense, it will kill them. So that's really, really busted, especially in the speedrun where you're going around low-leveled. And Baku actually runs a no-Saw version of this run too, just because of how overpowered that is. But I think for this marathon showing of Saga, you wanted to kind of just show little kind of a lot of what the game has to offer. So, like for the Ryu battle here, he's using the grenades and then attacks by his monsters to kill him. And then later on he's going to be getting Saw and then showing that off too.
Gets to it nice and clean.
Yeah, so there goes the second fiend, and then Ryu is guaranteed to drop meat. So he used that to turn his Barracuda into a baby dragon, or baby D as it's called in English.
D.
And the baby dragon has a flame breath attack, which is really good for fighting groups of monsters.
Yeah, there's a handful of abilities that are just really, really useful in this game. So elemental abilities, your spells, if you will, or spell-like things, typically always hit groups, and they're really useful. HP absorbing abilities, which he's also used, are super useful. A lot of the kind of basic stuff is okay, but he's not fighting a lot of battles anyway. So you're probably going to see a lot of the same stuff from this route.
Yeah. And here, he didn't actually get the crystal for beating Ryu. He got like half of it, and then to get the other half, he actually has this math puzzle here, where this NPC told him to add up the cost of a bunch of items, and then that ends up being the Blue Dragon sword that he bought earlier. So yeah, he talked to the NPC and then reset the game, because you're meant to leave and go back before you can actually solve the puzzle. But if you just reset the game, then that counts. And then he reset again because that despawns the NPC and let him get out faster. There's just all kinds of tech in this game that involves resetting it just because of how quickly you can do so. Because it has a soft reset sequence you can do. And that stuff you only really see in a non-manipulated route too, just because if you're doing the RNG manip, if you reset the game, that I believe randomizes your seed, so it kind of, at least if you do a soft reset, it makes it pretty much impossible to keep manipping. Although doing a hard reset puts the RNG in a known state, and like when this game was run for a Saga series marathon earlier this year, the person that ran it kind of did his route specifically around having hard reset points, so that just to make it more marathon safe.
Yep. And the general trend you're seeing now is finish out a world and then unlock another segment of the tower to get through, and then hit up the next world. I can only really imagine what the routing is like for this game. You really do need a combination of monsters. You'll want at least a human character to actually have access to using things, maybe like heal spells or other spells or grenades or what have you. But typically, as Quex already mentioned, your best bet for progression is getting through monsters and planning out what meats you want and how to get that meat drop guaranteed and blah blah blah. That's gonna take a heck of a lot of work because this game's meat progression is
especially if
ridiculous.
you do RNG manip, just because then you actually have to route getting encounters of the monster type you want, and then also guaranteeing the meat drop through kind of what actions you need to perform to force it.
Exactly. As simplistic as these Game Boy Saga games are in a lot of ways, they're all built on some kind of system that's just outrageous.
I didn't know you could walk into those dolphin statues like you just did.
Yeah, me neither.
You see those all over this game. They actually make a cameo in Saga 2, Final Fantasy Legend 2 as a optional boss. Okay, so he's in the third world now, which is it's kind of the sky world, and
it's got the best song.
I never really understood what the story for this world is, but there's another fiend called Byakko, who's just kind of terrorizing the people of this world, and then in order to find him, you have to join his guards or something, which is what he's doing here by fighting mosquitoes for some reason. But he's because he's not manipulating RNG, and he actually wants a meat drop from these mosquitoes in order to evolve his Red Bull into a beetle, which has the saw ability that we've talked about a couple times. He's going to keep resetting until he gets it. We got a third try.
Not at all.
Not too bad, given how how trolly these drops can be in Saga.
So you basically beat up his henchmen, and they're like, "Oh man, you're strong," and then they hire you to find these girls, basically.
Yeah, yeah, Jean and Mireille or something like that.
Something like
kind
that.
of French themed names in the English version.
So here's one. There's another good line too, actually, when you're like, "Why do you need this girl?" And he says, "Don't ask questions, just do what I say."
That would probably be why I don't really remember what the story in this world is. There really isn't much of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this battle's the first time he used the saw. It's kind of unfortunate we can't hear the game audio right now, just because it has a really distinctive sound effect, like zzzzt, whenever you use the saw. In this version, it's called chainsaw, actually, because they have more characters to use.
And then on the NA, it'll say sawed to pieces, and then they just die. And yeah, it really makes this game very possible to beat really, really fast when you do use it. I mean, it's still easily possible, very, very fast without it. but will insta-kill anything that's stronger than you. And it turns out a lot of things are stronger than you.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, Baku's record with the saw and no wrong warp glitches is about 51 minutes, and then without saw is 59. So it's a fairly significant difference, but we're not talking like it's twice as long of a run or something. So there's no encounters in Byaku's castle, but he does want to avoid bumping into these guards because they talk to you if you do. So I think that was a key he just picked up out of that chest.
Yeah, it is, to get you into the next room here. You're looking for the other girl, their sisters. She's locked up in the air fortress. You gotta get through the saber cats, I think they're called in NA.
Yeah, there's saber tigers here, and then he wants a meat drop off of this battle too. So if he doesn't get it, he's gonna reset and do it again. I mean, with the grenades and the baby dragon, you can kill these just because of those attacks both targeting the entire group. You can win pretty fast. It looked like he actually declined the meat drop too, which is a little different from his practice run that I watched. So I'm kind of curious what he's planning to do now.
This is my last favorite cutscene of the game, where I don't know what they say in Japanese, but in NA, the prisoner says, "There's no way you can bend the bars," and then you do. And I say, "Wow."
Don't tell me what I can't do.
Pretty much. So the story there is that you're trying to rescue the other girl, but it turns out she's actually on the side of the enemy. And, you basically just showed them where the other girl was, and they throw you in jail afterwards. They don't kill you, because why would they do that?
Actually, I'm kind of wondering if he maybe got off his Vanip route in the first world and didn't get the first meat drop he needed as part of one of his routes, because his second Albatross was going to go through the slime family, basically. So maybe he didn't get the first drop he needed as part of that, and just is kind of planning to use some different strats for the end game now.
Guess we'll find out. We're coming up at the end of the third world here.
And got another, like, a air car or something that he's riding. This game has a lot of kind of odd vehicles that you can ride in. So he's about to fight Byaku now. This will be the first boss that we get to use the saw on. There he goes.
There he goes. There's the insta-kill right
Byaku
there.
went to pieces. And then I think the end of the story here or something is that one of the girls like sacrifices herself to save the other one, and then her teardrop becomes the crystal.
Yep. The one you save sacrifices herself for the one that betrayed you, and then she cries for her mistake, and then you get it.
That's poetic.
It's something.
Oh, take note of that guy with the top hat too, because he is all over this game. I think he's in every town. You see him several times in the tower too, and you don't ever. I mean, there are very few points where you actually have to talk to him, but he is a pretty important character in the game.
As far as I recall, there's only one mandatory conversation to have with him, but he is everywhere, and he always just says something
I think
like,
I think he gives you clues or kind of makes chat, or some of his dialogue is clues and others is just nonsense.
Yeah. I even think later on too, if you talk to him and he says something and you're just like, "Who are you?" He doesn't really say anything. You could probably tell most worlds have been very, very short. This fourth world coming up is pretty dang long in comparison. It's a lot to do.
Yeah, there's just a lot more quest triggers you have to hit in order to get to the boss. Well, I guess not technically get to the boss. We'll actually be seeing the boss very soon when he actually gets into the fourth world. Although a little different than you're intended to encounter him.
Yeah, I'm super curious as to what he is going to do for the rest of his fights, and as far as monsters, rather.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main things for the NA route is you did get the beetle with Saw much earlier than Baku did in his run. But one of the things about that is eventually that beetle starts to miss a lot, just because it's such a low tier monster. So we actually had to get Saw again on a different type of monster. It actually would have happened before we got here.
Yeah, so this is Suzaku here, who's the boss of the ruined world, the fourth world. He was actually just running away from him, it looks like, because I think because of saving. He would just reset if you failed to run. But you can actually use the saw to kill Suzaku when you encounter him in the overworld, even though he's normally invincible. Like, the storyline for this world is that Suzaku, who's one of the fiends, is again terrorizing the people, and he has some kind of force field that makes him invincible. And then all of the exploration you're doing here is to basically make a weapon called Erase 99, which can destroy his force fields that you can actually fight him.
Yeah, otherwise he terrorizes you if you're ever in the world map. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's like in an RNG manip run, you would actually just, in those encounters with the invincible Suzaku, you would just use the saw to kill him, since that's more reliable than running away. But since Baku is saving, he's just running away.
Yeah, so you save a girl there, she'll pop up again later. Otherwise, this is like that post-apocalyptic world, yeah, and you do a lot of your travel in at least what they call in the NA version, the subway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was reading through the translation chart, too, for the translation differences, and yeah, like the final dungeon of this world is called Skyscraper. In the English version, it's actually called Shinjuku Subway Station in the Japanese version, which I know is a really major subway station in Tokyo in the real world.
This is a part I've never even understood. So you walk up to the bar, and like these guards want to fight you, and so this other guy walks up, says they'll beat you up, so we'll fight instead. And then the girl you just met in the subway says, "Actually, we know him, and now we're all friends now." And
I mean, that's how most bar altercations end, in my experience. So
I can't say I share in the experience. So yeah, just not to know. Well, this is interesting. Okay. The main thing here is now we're on a giant fetch quest to create the machine that will break the force field. I don't know what they're called in the Japanese version, but if you put a ROM together with a board together with plutonium, then you create Erase 99.
Yeah. Also, I think for that last fight with Suzaku, he was actually trying to get Suzaku to kill one of his characters, too, so that he can sub them out at the next guild. Because every world has an adventurers guild that has increasingly powerful characters and monsters that you can recruit, so that's part of his route for this category. Is instead of actually leveling up his human characters by buying items to do so, he's just getting them killed and then replacing them with stronger versions.
Oh wow, yeah. You start with 1,000,000 HP. Look at that. Here he's gonna get the board as well. What kind of ROM do you have? Here's the board.
Yeah, I see Romu in the text. Yeah, I guess it's called Rom here too.
We should be aiming to head back to town, the original town. There's a bit of some cutscene action before you head off to get plutonium.
Yeah, just like make a little minor pit stop at the atomic power plant in this world to get some plutonium. No big deal. Oh, and then right there, he actually just bought a weapon called Chainsaw, which lets his human characters that he just recruited here use the saw ability.
Ah, that makes sense.
I actually don't know how accurate that is relative to the monster's saw ability. But when I was watching him practice, I mean, having two characters that can do it seemed like he'd pretty much always kill whatever he wanted to saw in one turn worth of attempts.
Yeah, that makes sense. These humans are probably, well, they are definitely beefier than that beetle was. Yeah, there's going to be a fixed encounter coming up as well.
Yeah, with an eyeball.
Yep.
Kind of curious if he's going to farm meat off of it, because like in his no saw run, he farms meat off of eyeballs that you have to fight once, and then there's an optional and respawning encounter with another one on the subway car.
This
and
is
he uses that to evolve into really powerful jelly type monsters.
This is definitely one of those runs where if you weren't watching it and just listening to the commentary, you would be like, "What are they talking about with eyeballs and meat eating?"
Yeah, these games are pretty weird.
Yeah.
Oh man,
this is great though. This is a really good Game Boy run. Honestly, I really enjoy this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it flies by nicely and makes use of a lot of things too. Like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and it's very light on cutscenes and downtime too. So he did get the meat from the what exactly he evolved his one of his monsters into, but that's part of the route. So now we're gonna go get the plutonium here, and we have to fight first. We have to fight Warmack, making a little cameo here from Final Fantasy. And
dude,
Warmack just gets sawed.
That is messed up. You can buy a saw with 30 uses. Oh man, it's blowing my mind.
I know. Watching his runs of this has definitely made me curious if it would be applicable to the English version.
There are definitely a million routing possibilities on NA still, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Even outside of playing on Super Game Boy 2 like I do. I'm sure Poxnor's route's improvable by quite a bit as well. Especially looking at a lot of what Baku's doing.
Yeah, because like I know for both Poxnor and Dusler's routes just do a lot of meat farming, and I mean, like I'm sure you could do like what Baku does for his no manip runs, which is to do very little meat farming and use either no saw strategies for certain parts of the game or buy the saw for humans instead. Alright, so this is the final dungeon of the fourth world, called the Shinjuku subway station in this version of the game. So once he gets all of the components for the Erase 99 weapon to destroy Suzaku's force field, you no longer encounter Suzaku in the overworld, and you have to go find him in this place. This is a really kind of odd dungeon too. It's got these dark rooms. It has fake stairs, and
lots of hidden passages.
Yeah.
And like 10 elevators. Otherwise, this one's a long walk. If you take a look at NA runs,
full spikes here too.
Yeah, all kinds of weird backgrounds. Yeah, what the NA routes look like is just a heck of a lot of meat farming, as Wexler already mentioned. Just trying to all throughout the entire run figure out what monsters you want in each world, which monsters you got to eat to get there, which encounters then do you need to run from or try to fight out to make sure you get those meat drops. And then playing on different consoles actually gives you different RNG. It's a big part of why there's discrepancies in times, not just because of strategy, but also because of what kinds of things you can run into if you're manipulating anyway. So the encounter patterns and whatnot you'll get on SGB1 versus SGB2 versus Game Boy Player versus a specific emulator and things like that are all going to be different.
Yeah, and now he's in this weird room where every tile that's not a wall is a fake staircase, basically. Although
Yeah.
I think they look more like cell phone reception bars.
I don't quite know what they were going for there, but whatever.
Almost to the end though. Now he's actually about to get on the subway car.
Yeah, I think it's about 4 or 5 subway cars to get through.
One of the cars has a female mutant sitting on one of the chairs too, and if you talk to her, you actually get into an encounter with an eyeball, and his nose saw run farms meat drops off of that encounter in order to get the ultimate jelly type monster.
This place actually has really nasty encounters too, but thankfully he won't have to fight any of them. That one in particular is really bad.
Yeah, there's that eyeball disguised as a mutant female there. I can't really remember the story for this part other than that you're rescuing that girl that you made friends with earlier on from Suzaku.
That sounds about right, yeah. Yeah, basically in order to get the plutonium, you had to get through this force field that the dude that almost fought you actually kills himself to destroy. And then you gotta rescue his sister, girlfriend, I don't know, cousin, I don't know. But anyway, with the force field gone, you can go ahead and just take care of Suzaku just as you normally would. Yeah, there's your saw. There's your chainsaw right there.
And like we said, if you could actually hear the game audio, yeah,
it's a great sound.
Every time he does it, and then after you kill Suzaku, the girl gives you the crystal.
There's Top Hat Man again.
You can move on. That's the sprite for the jelly monsters always cracks me up too. Just that face on it.
No, is it crying? Is it scared? Is it happy? Is it all of them? I don't know.
Legend 2, I think, has the market cornered for really goofy looking monster sprites, but Legends 1 and 3 have some pretty good ones too. Especially the Japanese version of Legend 3, which has the evil nurse robot.
So theoretically here, we've gotten all the crystals. You should be able to traverse the entire tower and meet Ashura, who's like the big boss.
Yeah, Ashura is. You've gotten some clues about him if you actually talk to NPCs, but yeah, Ashura is the leader of the Four Fiends.
And theoretically,
responsible for all of the terror afflicting all the worlds.
Once you beat him, you should be able to get to paradise, which is what this game's all about. We are getting there pretty soon. can't imagine him needing to farm much of anything now either. It's probably good to go.
Yeah, because I have in my notes from his practice run, the only other farming he did was off of the Genbu refight.
Gotcha, yeah. I mean, if he's going to do what I think he's going to do, 368 HP is quite a bit if a fight's not going to go more than one round, which is not if you're just going to chainsaw everything anyway. It's probably
well, he's actually not, is the thing, too. He's actually going to be petrifying some of the refights. Because I think what I think he skipped getting some jellies, but he can still after he's past Ashura, he's going to replace the character that would have been a jelly with a great demon who can then evolve into a beholder that has stone gaze, which works on a lot of the end game bosses.
Yeah, for sure. Even my route / Deucer's route gets the same one. You get a beholder as well. And this is it.
But to meet Ashura here, who offers each of your 4 characters one of the worlds you just visited if you join him, and of course you say no, and then chainsaw him.
Yeah. And he says, "Well, I was just being nice anyway. Screw you." Some of the dialogue in this game is fantastic.
Yeah. Ashura is a recurring character in the Saga games too, but I just like that he gets demoted in each game because he's the major antagonist in this game, and then in Legend 2 he's the antagonist for the first story arc, and then in Legend 3 he's just kind of a lackey for another boss. Okay, so then after you defeat Ashura, you find what you think is the door to paradise, but then fall down a pit and end up back at the beginning of the game. But fortunately, the guild has new monsters in it, so he's replacing one of his monsters with a great demon, which is going to be able to evolve into the beholder that we just mentioned. And I kind of forget what exactly he's doing here, but he's reascending the tower. He's some kind of secret passage that lets him skip all of everything else he's been doing for about the past 40 minutes, and get up a lot faster. So yeah, so you have to, and then there's refights with the 4 fiends every couple floors, and then they're all guaranteed to drop meat. So he uses the meat drop from Genbu 2 to evolve his great demon into a beholder, which he can use to petrify the next couple refights.
It's also going to be able to tank some damage really well, as you see. The late game monsters have over 600 HP. There's certain monsters in here that have almost 800 that I've seen.
Yeah, and I don't really know the exact statistics and stuff, but I would assume that the Stone Gaze is more likely to succeed than the Saw, which is why he's doing it.
Yeah, that's probably the case. I've definitely been wondering how useful the item is over the ability.
And there goes Seiryu too, petrified by the beholder.
And then this part's it's a bit much, so you just basically you keep going up, and they use the same screen over and over and over again. And then when there's a new boss to fight, the screen design will change, but you're still gonna go up at 6-8 times.
Saga 2 ends pretty much the same way too, only you're going down instead of up, but you're still going down the conveyor belt and getting into tons of encounters.
But otherwise, this is pretty much it for the next 3-4 minutes.
This run looks like it's been going very well for the using. He didn't get trolled too hard by any of the meat farming he did. I guess he either chose to use a simpler monster route or got off his minute earlier at the beginning, but it didn't look like whatever was going on there really cost him much time.
Yeah, I would say this has been a smooth run for sure. If he ever even did get stuck somewhere, it was maybe within 3 tries, then he's good. Nice petrification first try there. With one more boss to go as far as 3 fights. We're Mega Man now.
No superhero skip for the refights, though. We'll leave that to Ohan a couple games from now.
I suppose the only good news speed-wise in these parts is the stairs actually zoom you up. You don't even have to actually do anything. In this case, he has to hold right, but other than that, you get a little bit of extra speed. Kind of like those things in the airport, you know? You don't want to walk, it just walks for you. We got that going on here too.
Yeah, I guess Square decided that this sequence wasn't long enough, so in Saga 2 they made it so that you can't run from any of the encounters you get.
Oh my god. I hate that part of the game so much. Alright, so this is where Suzaku will be.
Okay. He just like clipped through him or something. I've never seen that one before.
Hey man, it's all going well. Really fed the beholder, it looks like. That's probably potentially a Tiamat. Or maybe it's a Kirin. Not sure. They look the same. I think that's a Tiamat. I'm not sure if it was even needed. I haven't been paying enough attention.
Yeah, when I watched his practice run, he didn't do any revolutions after getting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's going to use the saw on the final boss, unless Kirin has the saw or the Tiamat.
No, it doesn't. One thing progressing your monster does do, it is actually full heals and takes away status effects and any of that. It kind of starts it fresh. I didn't see if he actually needed that or not. It could be why he did it. But maybe just a quick safety thing too. Not sure. And for whatever reason, a lot of the monsters here have 666 HP. Not sure why.
Yeah. I don't think that number has anywhere near the significance in Japan as it does for us, though. Like 444, I know, is their kind of bad number. Why Death in Castlevania games often has all 4s for HP. Right, so he's almost to the top of the tower. Kind of like how they portrayed you kind of climbing to heaven on the screen here, just using the Game Boy. Going out of bounds to say. Still glitchless, I guess.
It's whatever they want it to be. Here we are.
So now he has reached paradise.
It's got its own fancy music as well. Can't hear it, but...
Yeah. And the only other person in paradise besides you is Top Hat Man, who, after talking to him, you find out that he is God, actually. He's called the Creator in the English version, but he's just called Kami, or God, in this version. And then he tells you that actually he's responsible for everything that went wrong during the game, that he created Ashura as kind of a test to see how humans would react, and then amuse himself, and then kind of he says that you're the first people to beat his game, basically, and then he'll give you a wish, but instead you get mad and fight him, and then that's it. That's time, basically.
And you saw God, yep.
Yep.
Guys. GG. 54.
Yeah,
Even
so
if...
GG.
Yeah, it looks like they are doing. They stopped the timer already, because I know his practice run he did using this route was like a mid 54 or so. I mean, I think the ending is only like two or 3 minutes.
It's like just under 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yes, this would be like a high 56 GRTA timing, which yeah, it's a pretty darn good showing for this game.
Nice smooth run. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
because like we said earlier, Baku Zero is Mr. Saga, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he's behind like a lot of the routing for these games. He's either got the record or got really good times at like both kind of any percent and glitchless style categories for all of them. I mean, he streams on Twitch fairly often too, and yeah, definitely. I mean, if you enjoyed that, I would definitely give him a follow.
Yeah, absolutely. And you